So that brings us to today. Today is day 6. What did we do today? It is pretty windy out, but it's not cold. They don't have any areas of the ship blocked off. I started out my morning. I went and got a latte in the Crown Lounge, which is the loyalty club. I took my coffee to the back of the ship, to the hideaway. I was sitting there doing emails, talking to some of the staff, watching the wake of the ship. Also using marine traffic to look at some of the different industrial ships out on the horizon. I went to a really interesting tour with the lead horticulturalist who takes care of the plants, trees, and living walls on this ship.
From country to country or city from city, this tree is very stressed. You can see on the bottom, it was braided. Some of them only one crop, like this. They just call it steel shiflera.
Because it is a sea day, there is a lot more programming. There is a lot more things going on. Last night, looking at the cruise compass, we ticked off different things we wanted to do. All these things are free. You don't pay, you just show up. The horticulturalist took us through the fact that there's over 33,000 plants on this ship. They're planted in different directions, different varietals, 4 living trees, a 4-day water cycle with irrigation using almost 4,000 gallons per day. This ship has 4 living walls as opposed to Oasis class ships, which have 2 living walls. I thought it was really interesting. That was about 30 minutes. Then we met up at Surfside Eatery. Surfside is at the aft of the ship. It's the kids' neighborhood, so it's meant to be really accessible to families. It has arcade, candy shop, face painting, carousel, spray park and splash pad, several kid-focused restaurants. There is a specialty restaurant where you pay extra, but then there is a snack bar with pizza, hot dogs, hamburgers, churros. There's an ice cream station called Sprinkles. There's direct access downstairs to Aqua Ocean, the free kids camp. at the Surfside Eatery, which is basically a mini buffet. It's not the full buffet you would get upstairs in the Windjammer, but it is a sixth of the people. It's much smaller venue, much smaller usage. We sat at an outside table and had breakfast. Then we split up and I went to the Aqua Theater because I wanted to be Rover, dog on this ship. They were having a Q&A with different staff members.
Consideration is how busy it's gonna be, because if it's too busy, then I wouldn't take her, because it can be too much for her, too many people. So we try everything that she can enjoy as well, and you guys can also enjoy her presence. Rover really likes making new friends.
All right, next.
They went to the British pub on the promenade and were some drinks. I met up, played darts, did trivia, and I came back to the room to film this video. And they've gone upstairs to smoke. It's been a really, really good cruise. Definitely more of a faster pace of ship in terms of more going on. As I shared earlier, we don't do specialty restaurants. The only thing I might do today is get a milkshake from the milkshake bar here on the ship. It's not a Johnny Rockets. It's more of like bougie milkshake, very Instagram worthy with cookies and toppings. I've just been craving a milkshake. It is overpriced. It's $14. It's a lot of money, but it's kind of the few things on vacation I will do. When I'm looking at our overall budget, because in the app you can see what you've been spending, we got a $10 refrigerator magnet. We got one $9 glass of wine. My husband got a couple of $12 cigars. If I get a $14 milkshake, we're not going to spend a lot of money. I prepaid the internet. We don't tend to buy a lot of alcoholic drinks because we get vouchers through the Diamond Loyalty Program. So we don't spend a lot in that sense. Lastly, I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about the stateroom, is what we call them on the ship. And then I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about some of the things that I recommend taking on a ship if you are new to cruising. One of the advantages with being on a brand new cruise ship is obviously everything is brand new, everything is in great condition, but also the architecture of the ship itself is very thoughtful. In the presentation I attended by Royal Caribbean back in October at the World Water Park Association show, the designers talked about the user experience and how they would mock it up with a 3D floor plan in a warehouse where they would actually walk through the water park design, staterooms, restaurants. Everything about this ship from a facility operation standpoint has been absolutely fascinating. It is very intuitive, very thoughtful. One example I can give on this ship compared to older ships is there's so many different types of seating in areas that create little pockets where people can hang out. There are bar top ledges overlooking the promenade where people can lean or put their cocktail and watch the parade. In Central Park, there are rocking chairs. So that is definitely a better usage of space than on the older ships. The staffing level on this ship is not just a little bit more than other ships we've been on. It is 4 or 5 times more. 6 or 7 bartenders in a bar instead of 2 or 3. 7 or 8 people bussing tables in a restaurant versus a couple. I did want to highlight this stateroom. Initially, I was very disappointed because it felt a lot smaller than other staterooms we've had. We tend to be budget cruisers. We tend to get interior rooms. We've only ever had one balcony. This stateroom ended up being amazing. There's so many features, little shelves, hidden storage, closets. I thought the bins initially were kind of cheap, but the bins have been great for shoes and underwear. There are already some hooks on the wall if you didn't bring your own. In the past, I would strongly recommend somebody bring an international adapter because a lot of these ships are built overseas in Europe. So there is often a mixture of North American sockets and international sockets. On a normal ship, I might be charging my phone in the morning and then charging my laptop in the afternoon. And then my husband is charging his phone and his laptop, and we have to come back to the room and switch devices. In this room, I'm looking at 2 USB-Cs, 2 USBs behind, a regular electrical and a European electrical. This alone is more sockets than a normal stateroom. And then there's a USB over here, a traditional electrical. And in the bathroom, praise God, they have traditional electrical as well. Historically, it's just a shaving socket, so you can't plug a hair straightener, a hair dryer, but they have 2 sockets and both of them are strong enough for a hair straightener, which is amazing. This vanity is really nice. There's tons of storage. There's a mini fridge. We still brought our hooks, which I'll show you in a second. And then the bathroom is amazing because of the sideways shower with a bench. It's a much easier space to deal with. There is a huge TV, and that huge asset is the lighting options. So there is morning lighting, daytime lighting, evening lighting, sleeping lighting, movie lighting. You can adjust all of this from your phone anywhere on the ship. I love the movie lighting, and the nighttime lighting still has some light in the bathroom. Somebody who cruises has really thought about how the stateroom gets really dark at night. That's a bonus if you like to sleep in the dark, but it's a challenge for new cruisers who don't bring a nightlight. Somebody will stumble in the middle of the night because we're not used to pitch black windowless spaces. The closet, it looks really small, but they give you a lot more hangers and it's a lot more efficient. There's a long section for dresses, a short section for shirts. You don't have to put your shoes in there because there's all these bins. It's a very, very comfortable room. I was concerned initially because we brought big suitcases each, but we have unpacked completely. So let me talk about a few small things that I bring on every cruise. These are not expensive, but they really improve the quality of my life. These are things you might have at home or things you might spend $20 buying online. The first one is an over-the-door hook for the bathroom. So you can hang clothes, hangers, purses, coats, lanyards. You probably only have one door, but you could also put one on the closet. Second thing we couldn't live without is these little hooks that you can get on Amazon. These ones are technically collapsible, so you can unscrew the hook itself if you need to save space. This is a magnet and it goes into the wall. If you're not aware, every wall on a cruise ship is made of metal. They're built as compartments and then loaded on the ship. These are very helpful. You can hang them around the room. We'll use them for hats, women's bathing suits. My husband will use them for flashlights, lanyards. Lanyards are a big part of cruising because you have your sea pass. And so this is part of a set of 3 I got on Amazon, a little bit more of a fashion lanyard. Buy them ahead of the cruise if you can. They'll charge you $20 on embarkation that you don't need to spend. I like this option like from an office where you can slide your card in. I use this at night if we're going out. You don't take your wallet, you don't take anything like that because your SeaPass card is everything. It just goes in here and it can be scanned. The older SeaPass cards have a barcode that can be scanned through the plastic. On this ship, everything is tap. This is my nighttime lanyard. My daytime lanyard I have on just a cotton bag. I like to loop it in my bag so I don't lose it. It's in here. I can pull it out. I can put it in. I like to have a couple of different options. Other things that I think are really important and helpful in the cruise room is an adapter. Keep in mind, this is not a converter, so this does not change the electrical component, but I do think it's important if you can have an international adapter. I have been on ships with round prongs, diagonal prongs. It depends where the ship was built. Was it built in Turkey, France, for the Asian market? Getting back to the hooks, these hooks, we probably have 2 packs of 10. I bring all 20 hooks. On this particular room, I think we're only using 4 or 5 of this type. I also recommend these much heavier duty. This is a 5-pound chip clip. You can actually use this to hang laundry on the wall if you want it to air dry. You can use this to hang up documents on the wall. A heavier duty clip is also necessary if you're in an older stateroom where there's not as much storage. When we did Rhapsody of the Seas, it was a much older ship from the early 2000s, a lot less storage. We were in that stateroom for 21 days. These were critical for hanging things. I also like to buy are these cruise ship luggage tags. Essentially, you're buying a plastic reinforced sleeve for which you print out your luggage tags and stuff them. Cruise lines do not have that thermal paper that you see on airlines. You will basically buy this sleeve, and then it's got a reusable band that you can connect to your luggage. We've got 2 packs of these. This is made by Cruise On. You can find tons of cruise stuff like this on Amazon or Etsy. Essentially, a week or 2 before embarkation, you are sent these standard luggage tags, and you have to print them yourself at home. You have to show up to the terminal with your luggage tags printed. So after we get off the airplane in the hotel, we'll rip off the airplane luggage tags. We will pull these out, and they're usually pre-stuffed. Each of these colors and diagrams is specific to your sailing and your cruise line. So for us, you can see it indicates that we are on Icon of the Seas. We are on floor 14, stateroom 14469, my last name, the orientation of the ship. So we are mid-ship. Our sailing is December 7th, 2024. It leaves on Saturday from Miami. Diamond member down here means we get priority luggage. This gets stuck in here, and then these live on our luggage until the luggage leaves the ship. We are switching ships on Saturdays. This will stay on the luggage until we collect it in Miami. We are getting on a Royal Caribbean transfer service for back-to-back cruisers. They will put our luggage on the bus, and when we get off the bus in Fort Lauderdale, then I will open these up, pull out our other printed luggage tags for Oasis. These tags are invaluable rather than dealing with paper and packing tape. This is a much more sturdy and reliable label. It's not going to get ripped off. I remember now, the other thing I did on the Honduras day was I went down to the ice skating rink. They have skates available, both athletic skates and figure skating skates. You do have to wear a helmet, sign a waiver, pants and socks. It is a pretty small ice surface. There is also those things you can push if you are learning how to skate. They had open skating from 3 to 8 p.m. At the time I went, they were not doing 15-minute skates. When it's very busy, they will clear everyone off the ice every 15 minutes so that everybody has the chance to skate. At the time I was there was never more than 10 to 14 people on the ice. Me and this other kid who I suspect was a hockey player, we were doing loops for about 25, 30 minutes. I really enjoyed it. I've never skated on a cruise ship before. Obviously, it was at anchor. I don't know that I could do it while the ship is moving, but it was a really nice workout, something different to do. All of these activities are always included on the cruise line. We tend not to do any of the premium activities. For example, the Crown's Edge, which is the ropes course, is extra money. The water park, rock climbing, fitness activities, youth activities, like when they have a puppet show, all of that is included. The escape room, I think, is $60 for 1 hour. For the, if you want a private flow rider lesson, that's a couple $100. If you want to pay for a private cabana, casita, or day bed, those are extra, but there are endless chairs around the ship. Same when it comes to the kids camp, that's included. If you bring an infant on the ship, if you want babysitting at a certain time of night, that is extra money. Generally, there's so many free activities. Basketball, pickleball, mini putt is free. I'm thinking about those who might never have been on a cruise before. There can be a tendency to think, I have to book the Empire Supper Club, or Hooked, the seafood restaurant, or Chopped, the steakhouse. There will be people asking if you're interested in booking those, but it's not pushy. You just sort of wave them off and they leave you alone. Generally speaking, we can go through a week on a cruise without spending much extra money at all. We do spend $100 a week on tips, tipping bartenders, or somebody goes to get you an extra towel, or there's no expectation that you tip the staff on a Royal Caribbean ship. But if you've been on these ships enough, you know how hard they work for a 6, 7, 8-month contract, living in a tiny crew room, coming from a poor country often. That doesn't mean you have to tip them, but I'm privileged to make a lot more money than some people. It is part of my mentality that I want to put that money back in the ecosystem directly in the hands of people who are feeding their families, supporting their community back home. $1 and $2 US bills go a long way. You don't have to tip, but that's a big part of what we do spend on ships, is tipping a lot of people that we interact with.
Later.
A bit confusing because there's no TVs around this ship with the time, the way you might be used to seeing in an elevator or near an elevator on an older ship. One of the items I meant to mention that I didn't, if you were going on longer cruises, I do actually recommend a traditional alarm clock, because you may have your phone on airplane mode And especially if you ever do something like a transatlantic cruise or anywhere where there's multiple time zones involved, you will want to have something where you can wake up in the morning and figure out what is the real time. Because the number of times I've been on a cruise and we've switched time zones and it's correct on the TV or it's not correct by the elevator because somebody forgot to update the time in the middle of the night can lead to a lot of confusion. Having an analog clock is actually extremely helpful when you cruise because that doesn't change unless the battery dies. So today was day 7. We were meant to be in Coco Cay, but because of the weather, we did miss that port of call. There was all kinds of stuff all over the ship, but because it was the last day of our cruise, everybody has their own routine. For example, I don't like to be packing the last night of the cruise, which would be now when I'm recording this video. We just came back from the schooner bar and a lot of the public areas are dead because people are frantically trying to shove all their stuff in a suitcase before 10 o'clock at night. What happens on a cruise ship is you set your luggage outside, it is collected overnight, and they take it downstairs in trolleys and forklifts and put it on the pier so you can collect it from the terminal. Typically, you will put out your larger luggage in the evening and then maybe have a carry-on or small bag you're comfortable lifting up and down the stairs. You can self-assist. You can take your own luggage out to the port, but you're not going to be able to take up a whole elevator yourself. And if you have any amount of luggage, it's not worth it. If you have almost no luggage, then go for it. People do it because they want to get off the ship sooner or they have an earlier flight. My philosophy is there's 7,000 people getting off the ship. I tend to pick the latest disembarkation. We're not in a rush. We always pick our flights for later in the day, 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock, or we'll stay in a hotel and then go to the airport the next day. I'm getting ahead of myself here, but essentially I packed most of my things last night. 75% of the items I didn't need, I put in my suitcase, and the things like extra plastic hangers, I returned to the stateroom attendant because the staterooms have to be turned over tomorrow, and our attendant is going to turn over 17, 18, 19 staterooms. It's a lot of work for them. So as much prep that I can do ahead of time in terms of cleaning and restoring the room, I'm going to do, as well as I want to enjoy the last evening and not be stressed. Recapping what we did today, we didn't go to Coco Cay, went to get my latte, and then I took it to the back of the ship. I love the hideaway when there's not the DJ and the party atmosphere later in the day. I really, really enjoyed sitting there with my coffee, just taking in the view of the ocean from about 9 to noon. Noon, we met up at base camp. We've been eating there all week, but usually taking the food somewhere else. Today, we actually ate in base camp. Tater tots, cheeseburgers, pretzel bites. Not the healthiest food, but cruise food. There was this animatronic parrot I somehow missed the whole week. I went out and sat in the sun a little bit. Then we went to the Lime and Coconut, which is the slushy specific bar where they have different slushy machines with different types of slushy drinks. Anywhere on the ship, you can order a strawberry daiquiri, a pina colada, a blended mojito, lava flow, Miami Vice. They'll blend them to order, but this is kind of a novelty where they have 6 or 7 different slushy machines, and that's the focus of that area. From there, we went down to Surfside. It was around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We got soft serve ice cream and hot churros to mix together. My husband went off to finish his packing. We don't find any success packing or unpacking with both people in the room. I came back to the room to shower. He met up with his son to get a snack. Then we went to the front of the ship under this beautiful glass dome. I'd been wanting to go there all week. It's been pretty crowded. At night, it was not crowded, so we were able to get some drinks there. Really beautiful neon lighting, Christmas tree, very chill lounge feel. Left there, and a bunch of the divers and gymnasts were practicing for the aqua show. Watched them for a little bit. They went to the schooner bar for a drink. I went there via the Crown Lounge where I got a decaf latte. We sat in the schooner bar and then split up again. My husband went upstairs with friends. I went to the buffet to get a snack because I didn't eat when they ate earlier. And then here I am. I'm just going to kind of wrap up the evening, do a few things, relax, watch some TV. Tomorrow we get up really early. That's the only thing that's unpleasant about disembarkation. You have to be out of your room by 8 a.m. and then you have some food options until 8:30 or 9, but basically you do have to follow your disembarkation time. They give you detailed instructions here. They tell you exactly what to expect. We are tag number 76 because we're consecutive cruisers going to another ship. We are meeting in the dining room, deck 5 aft. They expect us to be off the ship at 9:40 a.m. So figure customs, bag collection. My husband has a cane. So we'll pay $6 or $8 for a porter to take our stuff on a dolly through the terminal, customs, and then to where Royal Caribbean has provided a bus. They will load our bags. We'll take the bus to Fort Lauderdale. We'll get off the bus. Porter will take our bags again. We have to switch our tags from Icon of the Seas to Oasis of the Seas. Then we'll check in. They'll scan our photos, ID, credit cards, and then we'll get on the next ship and start the cycle again. The other thing I wanted to mention was I was surprised how much movement you feel on this ship. They don't have the vomit bags out. I've seen very few people with seasickness patches, but even I'm surprised how much this ship actually feels like it's moving. I also wanted to highlight that I bring a reusable coffee cup. You can get one at a thrift shop and then leave it behind on the cruise ship. I do have this beautiful new IAPA water bottle. I'm going to take it home with me. But I specifically brought this water bottle because it is a wide mouth. And so it is much easier to dump in a plastic melamine cup of water into this water bottle and carry it around the ship. You are not allowed to refill a traditional water bottle like with a mouth hole that would contaminate the drinking water source or juice source. But you will see plenty of people with a cup that they haven't drank from dumping it into their water bottle. That's what I do with my coffee in the morning. I did see an officer today at the Surfside Eatery doing something I've never done before. He filled a plastic cup full of soft serve ice cream and then put it under the spigot of hot coffee for an affogato. And I thought, wow, like how have I never thought of that? One of the other things I'm not sure I mentioned is that we do decorate our door. You do not have to do anything special. You can just go to the dollar store and get decorations specific to the season, whether it's Christmas, Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day. Bring a magnet from home, from your refrigerator, but you probably want to have something on your door to make it easier to locate. All of the doors look the same. When you're new to a ship, it can be hard to distinguish between port and starboard, forward and aft. On this particular ship, you can tell it's new cruisers because there's almost no decorated doors anywhere except for the standard birthday and wedding packages. There were a number of weddings on the ship this week, which is really, really fun. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up. If you think I missed something or there's things you wish I had covered, please let me know in the comments below. I appreciate you being here. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next video.